Hello and welcome to the Women on the Wall radio show. We are excited to be here live in studio in Arlington, Texas with our wonderful producer, Josh. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good.
All right, and I'd like to welcome my co-host, President of Women on the Wall, Rebecca Forrest, Skyping in from Austin, Texas. How are you doing, Rebecca?
I'm doing good, Alice. I wish I was there with you and Josh. It's a lot more fun to be in the studio, but I'm just so excited we can do this. You know, it's really cool. So thanks, Josh, for all the work you've done.
Yes, we are getting high tech in the 21st century. But in the 21st century, sometimes it's good to just go back to the roots, go back to our foundation. And we wanted to start out the show today with a little motivation from one of our heroes. I know, Rebecca, your hero, and mine as well, Allen West. And many of you may have seen this video from years back where Allen West talks about a revolution. And we're going to show that video today to get started with a little motivation. Let's go, Josh.
I gotta tell you, when you listen to that fife and drum, that harkens me back to exactly how this country got started. When you think about how patriots got together in taverns, when patriots got together in houses along rivers and creeks, when you think about how the United States Marine Corps got started in a place called Tunn's Tavern, this is where we are right now in our country. We need to meet in places and start talking about restoring our liberty and fighting against a tyrannical government. It starts right here. It starts right now with each one of you that's gathered here today. This is what America's about. This is what America's about when it comes to understanding that it is equal opportunity versus equal achievement. Each and every one of us has the opportunity for greatness in this country. A person like myself, born and raised in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, to lower middle class parents, but I had the opportunity to get an education, to go and earn a commission in the United States Army, to serve for 22 years, to lead men and women in combat. That was done not because the government came down and tried to make the rules and change it for me. It was done because I realized I was an American, and I had the freedom and ability to do that.
Right, and really that's what, when we look at what's happening in our education system, Rebecca,
Yeah.
you know, that's what this is all about. And even when you start digging in Texas, a state that said no to Common Core, a state that has all these supposedly conservative elected officials, we got rid of the one guy, former Commissioner of Education Robert Scott, and put in a guy, Michael Williams, who is all about equity in education. And
Right.
that's what this is. That's what will tear our country apart. Don't you
Right.
agree, Rebecca?
Yes, and it's almost as if, for some reason, the Democrats have decided that a lot of their people can't be raised up, so they want to just bring everybody else down. And really, they're so wrong about that.
Talk about racist.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's so fascinating. Last night we had Nikki Hayes, who wrote the book The Story of John Saxon, and she said that's what was so frustrating to John Saxon when he was developing Saxon math, is
Right.
the pushback that he was getting. They were saying, you know, these poor black kids, and Nikki worked with these Indian kids on the Indian reservation that everyone said they can't learn. And John Saxon said, that's bull.
Right.
That's racist to say they can't learn. They can learn if they're taught from a knowledge-based, here's how you do it, and you give them structure and you teach them how to do it. Anybody can do it.
How long ago was this? John Saxon, when did he start getting involved in this stuff?
Time ago.
A long time ago. Saxon math has been around for years and years. Actually, I'll pull up. Let's listen to a little bit more, and then I'm going to pull up that information because I think it's important.
We cannot live in a country where the government sits around and tries to engineer and design results and outcomes. Every time they try to do that, everyone has a right to own a home. How does that end up? Everyone has a right to health care. How does that end up? The Constitution says promote the general welfare, not provide welfare. It is about setting conditions for our success. Right now, if you're not careful in the United States of America, we have a class warfare that's going on. You got a producing class and you got an entitlement class. When that young lady stood up and said, if I vote for him, I will not have to put gas in my car, I will not have to pay my mortgage, that was at the Bank Atlantic Center right here in Sunrise, Florida. These people live in amongst us, and if we are not willing to take a stand right now and take this country back and put it back on the right track of the principles and values that it was established upon, you're complicit. It's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault up there. It's okay to come out here and cheerlead, but you better get your butts out there and understand it's a fight, and you better be willing to fight for this country.
Talk about a difference between this black guy and the black guy sitting in the office of president.
Isn't that amazing?
It truly is amazing. And, you know, to answer your question, Josh, Nikki Hayes writes, it began in the 1960s, new math. Then in 1989, the leadership codified a set of national standards that turned classrooms into social engineering projects. Exactly what Alan West is talking about. The specific goal was to have girls and minorities like math. Mm-hmm. 2 decades later, the math education disaster has reached new levels. John Saxon, he was a retired military officer, much like Alan West, who became a math teacher, author, and publisher, began challenging the leadership establishment aggressively in 1981. After he published his first textbook, he accused them of pushing their unproven ideology onto teachers and students. He showed how mathematics could indeed remain true to itself, a historically rich discipline, and still cause students from all academic levels and races and genders to say, I love math. Mm-hmm. And the math establishment immediately shunned him because people like, you know, our leaders in the black movement, not Alan West, but the other Obama likes, they don't succeed unless they hold down the black race.
Right.
And that's what this is all about. That's what's scary.
And they want to keep them uneducated. So that they continue to just vote for the party that gives them the entitlements, and they they continue to be victims, which is why I love that other video that we were going to, I guess, share in a little bit from the young black gentleman that does such a great job of putting them back, you know, the responsibility issue back on the individual shoulders.
And, you know, that's where I think Alan West when he talks about, you know, patriots getting together in homes, patriots getting together in your local community. That's really, we've talked about it before on the show. That's what really this is about. And that's where we have to go back to. Forget the Republican establishment who, as Josh, you were saying earlier, lives in a bubble. They don't know what's going on in local communities. And we need to get back to our local communities and talk. You know, when I first met my friend Kennard, I was so upset that Obama was speaking at Texas A&M, one of the most conservative universities in the state, and there was a group of us that went to protest Obama being at Texas A&M. And there was this great black kid who was actually there. He was there with MoveOn.org, and they were, talking to us, trying to kind of create a little controversy. But he and I started talking, and he's a young black leader in his local community who really does want the best for the people in his community, and we've become friends. And here's this young black kid from the inner city of Houston, and me, 40 plus year old mom from North Texas, and we're friends. And I've learned more from him, and hopefully he's learned a little bit about me. And one thing that I said that first meeting was, why should we send our taxes to Washington for them to redistribute it back? Because he believed that Obama was going to give all these kids money. And I said, why do we need them? Why don't we as a local community take money that is given, donated, and help those kids in our local community? That's what it used to be about. Yeah. When local churches, local community people came together to take care of our own.
What did he say?
And he really didn't understand that concept. He had bought into the propaganda. But it's just like Anita Moncrief says. She said, you don't realize, unless you grow up in that kind of a community, what it's like to leave, what it's like to buck the system, what it's like to lose your family over politics. But as we're seeing in the Republican Party, in the Tea Party movement, Rebecca, you and I have talked about this many times. We've lost friends and family members because of our stances. But at some point, you have to stand up. Because if we don't, the future is gone.
Yes.
So I have a lot of respect for people who stand up. I have a lot of respect for people like Anita Moncrief and Kennard. I mean, he's trying to figure out what the truth is. Do you know that he called me the day after, or sent me a message the day after Obama was elected for the second time to check on me because he was concerned? That's a friendship.
Are you sure he wasn't, just rubbing salt into the wound?
No, he wasn't. He was really concerned. And he actually came and spoke. He was a part of a panel discussion that we had at Pastor Broden's church. Yeah. And he did a fabulous job. I mean, one of the things I love about him is I like to go on people's Facebook walls and look at their favorite quotes. And one of his is from Jay-Z, the rapper. But it's really a brilliant quote. It says, "When the grass is cut, the snakes will show." And I think that that's on both sides of the political aisle.
Right.
Are you telling me that we have snakes in the Republican conservative movement?
I think so.
At what point do we just give up on the Republican Party and do our own thing? I mean, so many of our people were at one time leaders in the Republican Party. So it's not as if we need them to tell us how to do this. At what point do we just give up? Because they're going to get us killed. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
Because they're standing up to fight like they should. They keep giving in.
Well, and it's interesting, when there was a group of us testifying a couple of weeks ago down in Austin at the State Board of Education meeting on instruction, and when you heard these stories of moms and dads and teachers and principals who were trying to figure out, why are these children in Texas suffering? My own fourth grader, why is he crying every night doing math? Why does he hate math so much when my older children did not. My older children had wonderful math teachers. And actually, I believe for Cody's math teacher is a great teacher, but she's being forced to use instructional materials and progressive teaching strategies that are producing the same results that we're seeing with Common Core all across the country. And I have to say, Ken Mercer and Tyncee Miller, I think they get it. And what Ken Mercer showed, and Tyncee Miller for that matter, during the social studies textbooks, she really questioned, these instructional materials. They're leaders. Mm-hmm. And they're leaders not saying, well, we'll elect me because we'll fix it in the next session. I have to be, as Tan Parker is, playing the line. He wants to be the caucus chair for the Republican Party, and he's supporting Joe Straus because he thinks, he's the one that can fix it all if just he's the caucus chair. But yet they have to send out propaganda mail pieces telling us how conservative Joe Straus is and how conservative Myra Crownover is. Hello? That they're pro-life. That it's all lies. It's all propaganda. Anyway, I said we have leaders like Ken Mercer who are showing that instead of saying, elect me or do it my way, I can fix it. They're saying, guys, this is corrupt. This is what's happening. And sounding the alarms and exposing the corruption. The first time an elected official sounds the alarm and exposes the corruption in Austin, I'll start strongly supporting them. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people like Tan Parker and, sending out PR propaganda that Myra Crownover is a pro-life conservative. That's a lie.
Well, it
Those
goes
are
back to what
lies.
Ray Myers said to these politicians. We're not your
Yeah.
fans, and we're not your groupies.
Right. Right.
And we
That's
have to
exactly-
quit acting that way.
Right.
But you know
Exactly.
what? I mean, here's what's happening when you're talking about Tan Parker and Giovanni, all those people switching over to Joe Straus. They're doing it because they know that we don't oftentimes follow through with the threat.
Right.
We keep saying conservative speaker or your seat, and then we turn around, not we, but some people turn around and support people that really should not have been supported.
Ken Paxton.
And you elevate them to a higher position. And so everybody's going, yeah, right. Okay, yeah, we're really afraid of you guys. Because what do? We let them be a senator then. We support them to be a senator or, I don't know, maybe a Texas Attorney General or something like that.
But he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he
He's a
loves
good
Jesus.
guy.
And that's
Right.
what's important. Doesn't matter if he screws us and lies to us and goes back on his word.
So
We have
that's
to be nice to him, or he might
they're
not be nice to us.
fine.
No. This is our house.
Right.
This is our Senate. These are our offices. This is still a government of the people. It's about we, the people.
Right.
And this is one of the things I was a little bit taken aback by at the Northeast Tarrant Tea Party meeting whenever Gio came out and said, he's crunching the numbers and this is the right decision, so forth and so on. Well, since then, a guy by the name of Brett Rogers is kind of one of the ones leading the effort. Well, he started crunching some numbers. It takes about $100,000, give or take, to win a state representative seat, to run that campaign effectively so you can win. It takes about $100,000. Well, if 350 people set aside $25 a month, that's about $100,000 to win that race. You're talking about a constituency of 150,000 people.
Right.
I think that we can find 350 people to set aside $25 a month.
Right.
And if we can do that for the state representative races, there's only 150 of them.
Right.
Then we can do that for our city council races, for our mayor races, for our school board, for everything. And it's about we, the people.
Right.
And that's what I didn't understand about Gio crunching his numbers, looking at the political forecast and saying this is the right decision. It might be the right decision for you
Right.
right now,
Right now.
but not going forward.
Right.
It's
And
not a
the
smart
minute-
political decision. Sorry.
The
Go
minute
ahead.
they start supporting Joe Strauss, man, their name should be marked off in big X's, being pro-life. You cannot say you're pro-life and
Right.
support Joe Strauss. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. You know,
You
so
know, and that's where, we got, I had put out that one post about this $22,000 donation that we had found on this list of supporters of Joe Strauss. And what it was, when we started doing, and actually it was Gio who sent me a message, and he said, "Can you please correct your statement? We didn't each get $21,000 or $22,000 from Joe Strauss. It amounted to about $800 that they had to write off, or that they had to put in their campaign for a mailer that was sent out by a consulting firm that sent out this PR piece saying how conservative these guys are."
So his price isn't even really $22,000. It's only $800.
It's $800.
Well, that's a lot better. I guess we're going to give up on the Alan West video. I'll put a link so
Yes.
people can go down the low. It's just a couple minutes more, and you can see the rest of it. Just click the link that you're
Right.
seeing right now, and
Right.
you got it.
You got it. I do want to play, if we can play the other video, Josh, because I want to show. Here's Alan West, this guy who's running for office. He's a leader. He's a former military. But then you got these young black men who are leaders in front of their computer speaking truth to power. This should give us all hope that there are other black men like this young man.
What's up, y'all? I know it's a pretty diverse group of people that's watching this, and that's cool. But this one's going out specifically to my black people. Now, I'm going to say this once. Yes, slavery was one of the most horrific things that ever happened in human history. Yes, racism still exists. It's probably always going to exist. Just get over that. And yes, there are law enforcement officers out there that take things too far, abuse their power. They're humans. We're a flawed species. With that being said, today we're going to talk about personal responsibility. Black people, it is 2014. Hate to break this to you. If your life is messed up, it ain't because of slavery. Your ass was never a slave. You probably ain't know nobody that was a slave. You probably don't know nobody that knew nobody that was a slave. Slavery ended a long time ago. Yes, it put us in a big hole in this country, but guess what? Dig your way out of it. Civil rights, about 50 years ago. I don't know if y'all know, we won. Google it, we won. Yeah, it was a fight. They marched, they sat in, we won. So in 2014, if your life is messed up, look in the mirror, figure out what you're doing, what you're not doing, take some personal responsibility for yourselves, for your lives. I understand, sometimes you can't help the hand you were dealt. You were born in the ghetto, in the projects, you were born in a bad situation, nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is do your best to get out of it. If you live in a messed up neighborhood, let me give you a little advice. Stop messing it up. Ain't no rich white man sneaking into the hood in the middle of the night, spray painting graffiti, peeing in hallways. George Bush ain't out in the neighborhoods selling crack on the corner. You know what I'm saying? If your neighborhood is messed up, it's because the people in the neighborhood continually mess it up. All this, stop snitching, everything no, start snitching. Go out there, clean your neighborhood up, and then keep it clean. Somebody come through after y'all clean it up, messing up, snitch on them. Call the police. Y'all like to pull your little camera phones out and record little ignorance and put it on WorldStar? Pull your camera phones out and record crime, get out to the police so that way people can be prosecuted and we can stop this cycle. Teach your kids something. Guess what? Swag and Jordans and everything like that, that's cute. But guess what? No, get you an education. Get an education, get a job, better yourself, better your situation. Let's talk about the police violence. Told y'all the other day, stop bringing stuff upon yourself, be complicit. The little video of my man Powell that got shot in St. Louis. Why would you think it's a good idea to run up on two cops when they tell you to stop, put down whatever you got? I'm going to keep coming at them, then they're going to shoot me. Now it's black people, we supposed to be mad, and oh my God, we need to go out there and march right. No, we don't. Stop doing crime. Here's the thing. Let's talk about Trayvon Martin for a second. Now, George Zimmerman had no business running off on that kid, and it's a shame that somebody lost their child. But the thing that nobody talked about with Trayvon Martin, in this day and age, why is it that when people see a young black man, the first thing they think of, what's he doing? Is he up to no good? He looks like trouble. You know why that is? Because that's our perception. Because that's the perception that we keep giving people. The way we act, the way we carry ourselves, the fact that how many young men out there have criminal records before they turn 18? How many men out there before they turn 25 have been incarcerated at least once? And then we want to talk about, oh, the justice system isn't fair, they come down hard on us. Okay, that may be true, but did you do it? Just because they gave you more time than they might have gave the white person, if you hadn't done the crime in the first place, you wouldn't have got any time. So stop using that as a damn excuse. If you already know that they're going to come down hard on you, that should be even more of an incentive to stop doing crime. Stop being ignorant. Stop glorifying ignorance. This little rap lifestyle that we looking at, Lil Wayne, all these rappers out there, that's not real life. That's the kind of life that leaves you dead or in jail. And it's a damn shame that in 2014, we are still talking about this. We are still talking about the same stuff that's been all in the Tyler Perry movies, all in the John Singletary movies that we was talking about back in the 90s, Boys in the Hood, black on black crime, stop killing and looting. We need to stop being ignorant, take some responsibilities for ourselves, change our perception, the way people see us in the world. You want the cops to stop messing with you? Stop giving them a reason to. You get pulled over for DWB, for those of y'all don't know, that's driving while black. Don't be mad at the cop. Be mad at the brothers that came before you to give the reputation to the black man for a cop. See, hey, look, there's a car full of brothers. They're probably up to no good. Get to the point where when cops pull us over for nothing, they keep coming up empty. Eventually, they'll stop pulling us over. But right now, hey, there's a car full of brothers. Let's pull them over. Oh, somebody got a warrant. Oh, somebody got a weapon. Oh, somebody got some drugs. So yeah, they're going to keep doing it. Why? Because it works. You go to the crap table, you roll the dice, you keep coming up with 7, you keep rolling the dice. You start crapping out, you'll stop rolling them damn dice. Stop giving the police, stop giving the public at large reasons to look at us like we're second-class citizens. We get looked at like that because a lot of us act like that. And it may not be the majority of us, but it's the perceived majority of us because it's the ones that you see out there on the World Star videos, on the internet, on Facebook, just acting ignorant, just acting like we don't have no damn sense, like we don't have pride as a people. Have some pride in yourself. Take responsibility for your life. Everything is not somebody else's fault. Sometimes it's just you. Empire. I'm just
Gives me hope. I tell you.
No.
And technology, how many hits does that have? Over 300,000? Something like that?
Now, 300 right now. It's at 300. Well, let me back it up. 328,000.
Yeah.
So, that just shows you somebody's listening. Somebody's listening to that kid. And somebody's looking for answers.
Right. And I have to say, he did that right after Ferguson. The Ferguson grand jury came down. But what happened in New York was absolutely unbelievable. I cannot believe that they did not bring back a bill on that officer, because when I watched that originally, I couldn't believe that they did that to that gentleman. I mean, we were talking about a cigarette tax, and the gentleman had his hands up. I just cannot believe that that one is one in my mind that they should have actually done something about. And to think that after all of the violence and everything that's gone on with Ferguson, it's just unbelievable to me that they let this New York thing come down like this. It astounds me. I mean, we're talking the crimes, really? I mean, a cigarette tax? Come on. Yeah.
It's crazy when you start looking at reality on the ground, and the reality on the ground doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I want to talk a little bit about, we've talked about education. We know that the people behind the Common Core, the people who are in Austin, the progressives who are trying to push Common Core in, their agenda is an education of equity.
Right.
Not an education of opportunity. And one of the things we know that there's $63 million grant that was given to folks connected to Bill Ayers for social justice curriculum in the classrooms. I mean, it's just flooding in, and people aren't asking questions. Our elected officials aren't asking questions. But when you look at the connection between amnesty and this and letting all of these illegal people in, they are breaking the law. So the law means nothing. We are no longer a nation of laws. And then you look at the impact of that on the Black community. We've talked about, there's a priest who wrote a book, The Immorality of Illegal Immigration. And his story is fascinating because he said that he was working with, he had worked in Harlem for years in a parish there, and he left and he came back and he had bought into the whole social justice idea. And he said he came back to officiate a wedding for a young Black couple, and they said, "Father, we want to walk you down the streets of Harlem." And he said, "Oh, I know the streets of Harlem like the back of my hand." And they said, No, we want to show you something." And he went and he walked down the streets of Harlem, and in every shop, the barber shop, the deli, the convenience store, all the employers were Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's when I realized the immorality of illegal immigration when a Black man can't get a job in Harlem. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's not to put down Hispanic people who want to work. He said, but when you have a legal migration into the country, when you know who's coming in, that's a normal migration. But what we're doing is immoral to the Black community. And I think that that's exactly what is happening. It's a Black on Black crime. If supposedly Obama and Al Sharpton and all of these people are all for amnesty, what will that really do to the Black community? Mm-hmm. And we've talked about that before, Rebecca, and that really illegal immigration is really your expertise. You want to talk about that a little bit and exactly what's happening with this amnesty that Obama is bringing in?
Well, of course, the main thing that they're trying to do is just make sure they have a new voting base, mm-hmm. a law that they're bringing in, and it's to their advantage to keep all of these people, uneducated and dependent on the government. That's all they really care about. They don't want them educated because then they know they probably wouldn't vote for them. So they want them poor, and this is bringing in just more and more really poor people who are not educated. And, that's just a heyday for them, and it does destroy the Black community even more. I mean, not that I think they could do much more to destroy it, because once you destroy the family, which is what
right.
they've done, then you start rewarding bad behavior. I don't know why the Democrats keep doing that, but they do. You end up with broken families, and it's a bad path. So, but the fact that the Republicans are even thinking about giving in on this is it's unacceptable. And the fact that all of these people, we have no idea, once again, who they are. There will be rampant fraud, as there was in '86. The number will be gigantic because each one of those people then get to bring in, another 8 or 9 people in chain migration. And so, it's just disaster all the way around. And the fact that these people in the Republican Party are not smart enough, either they're not smart enough to figure it out, or they're not really conservative. I'm beginning to question who they really are. So it's not good at all. But, the problem is you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
And that's the problem, is that once they do any of this, you can't undo it.
Mm.
So
it's interesting in this article, it's in American Thinker. It says Obama represented them not as fugitives keeping a low profile, but as ordinary people like you and me, occupying houses in our neighborhoods and pews in our churches. How does this jibe with the picture of them as unfairly marginalized entities destined for dead-end labor such as making beds and mowing lawns. This is an article, Obama's immigration blitz, a bad break for Black Americans, by Doris O'Brien in the American Thinker. And I think that this is an issue, and what it's creating is race in our schools. And you think about it, especially like in the Houston area, we have all of these illegal minorities coming in that are being put into schools. You have the gangs in the Black community. It's the race riots are just going to intensify. They're creating a situation that is so dangerous.
Explosive.
It's very explosive. And it's happening in a state like Texas. Because of the policies, we are a Republican state. Because of the policies of Republicans, we're holding up the carrot. We've been holding up the carrot for years.
For the people watching this video, they're saying, okay, you laid out the problem. We get it. We got big problems.
Right.
You got Women on the Wall. There's other organizations. What can they do to be effective and maximize their time, their efforts, their energy?
I really believe the issue of education is where it's at, because we have the authority, if we will use it, to take back our local community schools. If we will empower our school boards. But the only way that our school boards can be empowered, because at this point, just like you're saying, we haven't been involved in those races of local mayors, local city councils, and local school boards. And the left has been. Bill Ayers has talked about it, that's where they've been organizing on the ground. So we've got to get back and get into those races, and especially on our local school boards. I had a meeting in Argyle right before Thanksgiving. We had Argyle ISD school board members, Louisville ISD school board members, and Decatur. And what we were talking about is how to educate and inform our local citizens, taxpayers, and parents who are paying for that local school district, to when the school board takes a vote to say no against the superintendent or no to funding for professional development for teachers to go and be taught at the Dana Center that's all social justice, math education, when they vote no, they have to have the community behind them. Because when they start making those votes, they're going to be attacked by the left because they've been organized. So that's where I think we've got to take the battle, is to educate and empower our local school districts. And this is something we've talked about before on both the right and the left. Even our conservative Republicans are good guys on education. All they talk about is school choice, like that's the answer. But because of the federal takeover of our education system through Common Core, No Child Left Behind, 21st Century Learning, college and career readiness, HB 5, everything that our Republicans passed, the federal takeover has happened even here in Texas. And so choice has become no choice. So we've got to quit that line of choice is the answer. Choice has to be defined as the right of a mother and father to decide what the best education is for their child. If that is their local public school, that's great. If it's a private school, if it's homeschool, what it looks like in my community is totally different than what it looks like in my friend Kennard's community in the inner city of Houston. So we've got to get back to the rights of a mother and father to take control of their child. And when Republicans start talking about, instead of school choice, start talking about empowering and taking back our local community schools, will be a lot better, because what's happening, they're not talking about what's actually being taught. The social justice, racist excuse my language, crap that's being taught in our schools. When they start talking like that and empowering parents, because what will happen if they are successful on the right in collapsing our public school system, and they are successful on the left in collapsing our public school system, if everything goes to charter or to private schools, and charter our public schools using our tax dollars, those are run by appointed boards. Those appointed boards are beholden to whoever's giving the money. So if the money is coming from Bill Gates, Pearson, whoever, that's going to control the crap that's being taught in that school. The only power that we have through a democratic process is that locally elected school board. And if I don't like what's happening in Argyle, Texas, I go to the school board meeting and I raise holy heck. And if they don't listen, I organize, and either I run for school board or I get someone else to run and replace them who will care about what's being taught and won't allow the social justice curriculum to be allowed into our school. And you know what's going to happen? Those school districts that empower their local school board to be strong, I guarantee you the property values in that community are going to go up. Because people are going to go where they have a strong, classical, solid foundation curriculum where children are taught and given an education of reading, writing, math, history, and education of opportunity, not an education of equity. And I feel like I'm saying it over and over again, but I think people are beginning to listen. And that's where I think the answer is. Organize locally, organize in your schools to take it back. Because that's where the next generation is being taught to act like the hoodlums in Ferguson versus acting like the great, young man that was Charles Patrick. Exactly. Rebecca, what do you think?
Well, I agree. I don't know. I mean, in Texas, I think that, Greg Abbott has announced that he's joined, I think they're joining with 16 other states to sue Obama over this immigration mess. I just don't know that we have a lot of time. So it's going to be interesting because all of these children that are in the schools, they're going to start costing more and more money, and everybody's taxes are going up to pay for it. And it's just, I don't know. Just have to keep talking about it, I guess. And get rid of the people that don't do what they say they're going to do. And we've got a bunch of them in Texas, it seems, that have just popped their heads up. So time to start, getting rid of them.
I want to encourage people. We had the Can I See conference. We've still got DVD sets on sale for $99. You can go to canic.org and order a DVD set. But one of the videos that is in that set, a section of it, is of Nikki Hayes, who wrote the book, The Story of John Saxon. She was on the Women on the Wall conference call last night. And I just want to close out the show, my portion of it, and I want to get your take, Josh and Rebecca. This was my post on Facebook. I said, here's a link to the audio from last night's Women on the Wall communication team conference call. On it, you will hear the truth about who was on the writing team for the new Texas Math Teaks, and you will hear how they are being co-opted by the progressives bringing in Common Core flooding into Texas schools. As parents and taxpayers, we should be mad as hell and stand up fighting back to protect our children in Texas classrooms. If you are an elected official, it's time to stand up and lead. We want answers. The SBOE is being used as a scapegoat on this issue. It is because of Senate Bill 6, which was lobbied by Microsoft lobbyist and illegal SBOE member Thomas Ratliff and voted on by you, the legislature. That's all of you. Senate Bill 6 was voted on. It was authored and voted on. Because of House Bill 5, which was sponsored by Dan Patrick, our children are being seen as human capital for the government. Because you passed HB 2103, the P20 legislation, now our children's personal data is legally being collected for research purposes. I'm tired of hearing about how conservative you are. My kids are not your guinea pigs. I want you to know what I want to know is what are you going to do about it this coming legislative session to lead the charge to protect Texas students in public, private, charter, and homeschools and get Common Core out of Texas. My kids are not common. My kids are not your human capital. My taxes should not be used to give Texas children an education of opportunity, knowledge-based reading, writing, math, my taxes should be used to give an education of opportunity, knowledge-based reading, writing, math, and history, not an education of equity and social justice. Got it? I'm mad and I'm not going away.
Tell us what you really think, Alice.
I know. And then I tagged in all of them.
Good. That's good.
Jonathan Stickland, Matt Rinaldi, Matt Schaefer, Matt Krause, Stephanie Click, Tony Tenderholt, Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton, Tan Parker, Ron Simmons, Cindy Burkett, Dan Patrick, David Dewhurst, John Caliandro, Bob Hall, Brian Hughes, James White, Giovanni. I want to know from all of them, what the hell are you going to do? Because our kids are suffering. There are kids committing suicide because of what they're being taught in school or the fact that it's age inappropriate. We're making them adults before they're ready. I'm mad. I'm just mad. I'm so mad because these people voted for this.
Right.
And they need to be held accountable. As Scott Turner said in his speech that he gave that the other night, a couple of weeks ago, it's no longer the time for a containment mentality. We have to stop them. We have to stop them. So,
Well, I hope he means what he says.
I do too. I do too. Well, Rebecca, closing thoughts from you. I'm mad. So what's your closing thoughts?
My closing thought is, I just have a question. Why do we keep sending our hard-earned money to a government that is trying to destroy us? Why are we feeding this beast that is absolutely trying to destroy our country and our families? I'm really having a serious thought about that. I think it's time to cut them off and just quit sending your money in. If they don't have any money to spend, they can't do a whole lot of damage.
And quit sending these, I still get all the emails from all these elected officials, they want money for their campaigns. They want money. Instead of sending money to them, send money to Women on the Wall to help us do the work that we're doing. Send money to your local Tea Party group that is on the ground, local Tea Party group that is on the ground fighting for you. Send it to a local grassroots organization of moms and dads who are working in your local community. That's where the funds need to go. As you said, Josh, if we organize and put in $25 and prepare to take out the Ron Simmons and the Tan Parkers, Myra Crownover. We need to get Reed King elected and get Myra Crownover out of there.
And that's a race we can win.
That's a race that we can win. Reed King, I'm on your team. I'm on your team.
One last thought there, but I'm sorry, Josh, I know you need to chime in here, but it would be nice to know after we get these people elected, the ones that we think are going to be good for us, to know what their campaign debt is when they're headed to Austin, and then to really set out to get organized and help them to pay that off, to know what it is they need, each one of them that we wanted to get there, and to then try to help them pay that off so they don't get bought off. Because that's what's happening. They're getting bought off. They're
That-
getting, we know that. So
Giovanni,
we talked about this the last
$800, man. That's sheesh.
we could have covered that $800, Gio.
Yeah, really, we could have hit that one.
Oh,
Gosh, okay, Josh.
They don't care what I have to say. Two quick points. You're the friendliest mad person I've ever encountered, Alice.
oh.
And I think what we're seeing is a change in attitude. This movement has only been really going for about 6 years or so. The liberal progressives, they've been doing this for 100 years.
Yes.
And so I think that we should be encouraged because we are organizing. We've tried different things. We've had great successes. We've had some failures along the way. And we're finding out, getting together, brainstorming, finding out who the real activists are, not just the getting on the bandwagon. I'm here for the show, but the people are in the trenches, fighting the good fight for the long term. And what we're doing is we're figuring out these things, like the 350 people at $25 a month. Well, maybe not everybody can do 25, but everybody can do $10 a month.
Right.
And so putting these things in place and changing our attitude, it's always, we are, as Republicans, as conservatives, as Americans and Texans, Texas is the friendly state. We're naturally friendly people, but our attitude is we're going to be friends to you, Mr. Politician, but you damn well do what's in the best interest of the state of Texas.
Right.
You better consider our children. You better consider the black community and their jobs and their welfare in our system, and don't let another country, or countries at this point, invade the state of Texas and rob from us is what they're doing.
Right. Right.
And if you're a politician that gets down to Austin or gets to the city council and you have a ho-hum attitude of this is just the way it is, you people don't understand. Well, no, Mr. Politician, I do understand. And I am involved, and I'm not going away. This is what Jonathan Stickland said to him. I'm coming back next session, and I'm bringing a bunch of my friends with me.
Right.
That can be said across the Tea Party, right-wing conservative movement, especially here in Texas. We're not going away. And next election, we're bringing a bunch of our friends with us.
Right.
We're taking over. Arlington is going to be run the Tea Party way. Texas is going to be run the Tea Party way because that is the way of our founders. It's the way of freedom and liberty.
Right.
And whatever the left, one last point and I'll give it back over to you. Whatever the left says about the Tea Party, marginalized, criticized, 130 million Americans self-identify as Tea Party.
Right.
We are America.
Right. Right.
And
Own it.
we are going to have a government of we the people, period.
Right.
I'm done.
And now, I mean, look at the studio. Look at the opportunity that we have to come in here and put on a radio show, a live, virtual radio show that goes online, can be shared across. We are creating the message. We are creating the content. And we will win in the end.
Right.
We will win in the end. We're not going away. And
Hey, Alex, sorry.
go ahead, Rebecca.
I just want to mention, we talked about trying to get Rick Altman on today on the show. He's my friend out of California that was with FAIR for many years and some other organizations. And I'm going to try to get a hold of him and let him come on next week. Because
Great.
he's very knowledgeable about all of this Obama, immigration mess. So just so everybody knows that. Have him on next week, hopefully.
Awesome. Awesome. And we're working to get Frank Gaffney on as well. We would love to have him in studio with us.
Yeah.
So we will be pushing, and we will not go away. And we'll be back next week. Have a great week. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Alice.
Bye-bye.